Hello, everyone. I'm Mike,
I'm Matt.
and this is Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt vodcast. So our plan in these vodcasts is to interview business owners and entrepreneurs and ask them a few questions that we hope will be inspirational for our viewers and our listeners who want to learn how they can be better business owners and entrepreneurs themselves. Our goal is to leave you with at least one good business nugget each time. So for our guest today, we have asked Doug Wasser of Wasser and Russ Law Firm and Harrison Wise of Wise Collective and The Bluntness to join us and talk about the cannabis industry and what each of them are doing to capitalize on the opportunity. So by way of introductions, Matt, why don't you introduce Harrison?
Sure. So Harrison Wise is the founder and president of Wise Collective, an integrated marketing agency for cannabis, tech, sports, media, and entertainment industries, and publisher of thebluntness.com, a digital media company at the forefront of the burgeoning global cannabis industry.
And Doug Wasser is a commercial real estate lawyer who helps people acquire, lease, mortgage, manage, and sell commercial real estate. He believes that cannabis needs to be grown, processed, and sold to the public, and the correct choice of real estate for each of these purposes can be central to success. Well, gentlemen, let's get to it. Doug, why are you interested in the cannabis industry?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Man, how could you not be interested in the cannabis industry? I mean, this is an industry that is in the process of giving birth to itself as we speak. Just some facts to throw at you. Gallup does a poll. 2/3 of Americans have been in favor of full adult use, recreational use. 2/3 for the last several years. That's been consistent, and in fact has been rising. The current legal regimen is that 37 states in the United States have some form of legalized cannabis regimen. Medical cannabis, 15 of those 37 states have full adult use, recreational use. Some are further along that process, but 15 states have approved that. Most of those states are on the West Coast. It's beginning to take root here on the East Coast, Massachusetts being one of them, Vermont, Maine being the others, New Jersey just voted. So it's coming.
So since you're a lawyer here in New York, where do you see or how do you see a need for your services? You're a lawyer, commercial real estate.
So cannabis touches the real estate. What we're talking about is the sale of cannabis, the production of cannabis. You're talking cultivation facilities. You're talking processing facilities. You're talking retail dispensaries. They all need real estate. General business issues come up as well, because when you're talking about all these, you're talking about the industry, which doesn't really exist yet. And that's the exciting part of the cannabis industry. Everybody can get in on the ground level here. You're talking about logistics. You're talking about distribution. That all takes real estate. And that's where I can come in.
Okay. And so, we are living in such interesting times with the pandemic. How has the pandemic affected the cannabis industry? You say it's a growing industry, but pandemic is what it is. What's the effect?
It's a great question, Michael. It's a great question. Cannabis has been an illegal substance for some 60, 70 years. It's been illegal up until, I think it was 1996 is when California first adopted a medical cannabis regimen and legalized cannabis in that state for medical purposes. Since then, cannabis has become gradually more accepted over time. And it's gone from what was an illegal substance akin in the eyes of the federal government to heroin, to to opium, akin to that level, to during the pandemic, it's been converted to an essential service. So that of all the businesses that were compelled to close down during the during the pandemic, cannabis places, cannabis stores, cannabis dispensaries have been allowed to open and to operate.
That's wild.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Post-COVID, you're going to see states with huge holes in their budget. And they're gonna look for taxes and tax revenue to plug those holes, and that's where cannabis comes in.
So Matt, you have some. Thank you, Doug. Matt, you have some questions for Harrison?
Yeah. So Harrison, tell us a little bit about what Wise Collective and the Bluntness are all about.
Cool. And thanks for having me on, Matt and Michael. Appreciate it. So Wise Collective, as you noted, is a full-service integrated marketing communications agency. So we work across the full spectrum of marketing services to help our clients achieve their outcomes, market share, brand awareness, et cetera, et cetera. And those services include media relations, earned media, owned media, content marketing, content strategy, content distribution, content creation, social media, and all the things that fall under the social media umbrella, community management, influencer relations, social media strategy, et cetera, and paid media solutions and strategies. And we've worked for the last 5+ years with cannabis companies to help them reach their target audiences and help them help mainstream cannabis and help build their brands within the category that they're in. And then we, through the work we were doing with our clients on the agency side, saw an opportunity to provide a platform for cannabis companies to further tell their stories as well as market to target audience segments. And that was the catalyst for launching The Bluntness, which is an owned and operated media property that covers the cannabis industry from a commerce culture perspective.
And what's the profile of your core clients in both of those?
On the agency side, it's growth stage companies. So cannabis companies. We've worked with several multi-state operators. Our first cannabis client was MedMen in 2015, and we were pretty instrumental in their growth and trajectory pre-California recreational legalization, Prop 64. So we were really working hand in hand with them in helping to mainstream cannabis. That was really our core mission, was how do we bring this narrative to the masses using California's legalization efforts in 2016 as the vehicle. And it was a pivotal moment in the country's move towards legalization. And we were fortunate enough to be there and help contribute to that outcome. So those are the type of companies that we typically align with and work very well with. Vertically integrated companies, companies that are looking to spread their wings to other states, so become an MSO, multi-state operator. But we do work with some local brands that are only in California or only in Northern California or Southern California, Oregon, for example. So we work across the full spectrum of cannabis brands as well as cannabis adjacent companies. With our agency's Roots in Tech PR, we've worked with companies that help cannabis and cannabis touching businesses with their banking. A company called Hyper that again allows banks to bank cannabis related businesses in a compliant way, and vice versa, help cannabis businesses maintain compliance with all the various FinCEN and other regulations that are required for cannabis businesses. And then there's labs, laboratories, another real estate intensive element of the industry. Waste management companies, because you have to dispose of cannabis waste in certain ways. Again, ancillary businesses are also another core target customer of ours.
So Harrison, why? I'll ask a similar question that Michael asked Doug. Why cannabis?
Well, why not? Why not? It's a great industry, and I think that it's very much in its 1.0, maybe 2.0 iteration right now, and there's so much potential there, both for like I said, the cannabis touching elements of the industry as well as all the ancillary picks and shovel elements of the industry. There's tremendous potential to this industry, and we're still at the we're at the starting gate. So it's an exciting time.
So Harrison, what obstacles exist in the professional world, the cannabis industry, and how do you anticipate removing them?
Obstacles? Well, I think descheduling is certainly the probably the biggest obstacle in this country, because it does affect.
What is descheduling?
To Doug's point earlier, removing cannabis as a Schedule I narcotic on par with heroin and other cocaine and stuff like that. It's just miscategorized and used as a vehicle to basically imprison large swaths of our population. So that's probably the biggest obstacle. There's a number of organizations and cannabis companies that are fighting that fight. And nonprofits, but there's still a long road ahead to kind of seeing that come to fruition, and ultimately, that's the step to federal legalization as well. I think they do go hand in hand in that regard. So that's the biggest obstacle.
So how has the pandemic affected cannabis?
Doug hit on that as well. I think the fact that it's been classified as an essential service is it's tremendous validation for such a nascent industry, as well as for the people who struggled over the years, going to jail just for cultivating cannabis, and others who have been caught with a joint or selling little bags of cannabis and have been put away for a ridiculously long amount of time. But the fact that it is an essential service is a tremendous milestone right now, and that's I think it shows how far we've come in such a short period of time.
And so tell us about the bluntness and what your plan is for the future with the bluntness.
So the bluntness, we're having fun with it right now. We're telling some really interesting stories about all the various aspects of the industry, personalities, brands. Our goal is to ultimately build our audience. And scale that, start to produce some events, some podcasts like this, and all of that's in our roadmap for 2021. But the goal is to continue to just keep giving voice to the underrepresented folks in the cannabis industry, who can help tell the real full breadth of what this industry is capable of, both the good, bad, and the ugly. It's in the name, the bluntness. We're really looking to keep sharing the candid perspectives of all that's happening in the industry.
Matt, thank you.
So Doug, what do you think the important? Oh, good, Michael. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
All right. So Doug, I was going to ask you, what do you think the important lessons that companies in the cannabis industry can learn, and why?
So the thing about it being such a new industry is that there really isn't a lot of history there and lessons to be learned. Everyone is, if you jump into the industry now, you're going to be making the rules and you're going to be making the mistakes. But I do want to take this opportunity really to build on a point that Harrison had made. And that one of the things I love about this industry, and everybody who's in this industry has to participate in this manner, and that this is a strongly socially conscious industry. If you're going to hire people, engage people, you're going to have to make sure that your workforce is socially diverse. Part of the licensing regimen, in fact, is going to require that you engage and divert some resources for the benefit of communities that have suffered from the drug wars since the 1970s. That is a key component. And Harrison was talking about the populations that have been jailed by the enforcement of drug wars. The cannabis industry has to make up for those issues, and it is fully committed to do so. So anybody who's going to be jumping into that business has to have that strong sense of social awareness and social conscious, and that's why I think it's a great industry.
And Doug, what have you learned from being in the cannabis industry?
So I'm a real estate lawyer, and so I take a real estate law perspective from the cannabis end. So I have a whole list. Currently, it tallies at 36 unique real estate law points as it applies to the cannabis business. I won't go through all 36 of them.
Well, that's good. I don't think we have that much time.
So I'll take the top three. The top three real estate points. Number one, if you're going to open a cannabis business that is a flower touching, Harrison was talking about the non-flower touching businesses as well. If you're going to open a flower touching business, issue number one, go where you want it. Don't try and fight the current. There are a number of jurisdictions, a number of towns that don't want cannabis in the town. I can't tell you how many people have approached me and said, I want to open up a retail dispensary in the Hamptons. Well, that's great if you can convince the local officials, the local clergy that this is something that's doable. Go someplace that wants the jobs, that wants the product, that wants the economic productivity that the business. So that's issue number one. Go where you want it.
Number two,
make sure you have the capital to do this. There's going to be a lot of challenges that come your way. If you're going to open up, for example, a dispensary in downstate New York, make sure you have $2 million behind you. So this is a serious undertaking.
And to interject there, Doug, you can't just go to a bank and get a small business loan for this because it's still federally illegal. So that it has to be private capital.
Yeah. Number three, with real estate, go cheap. Go cheap. You don't need trophy property because the customers will find you. Don't worry about it. Go cheap. Find busted up property and go there because there are going to be plenty of contingencies that are going to smack you upside the head that you're going to have to pay some dollars for. Plenty of unanticipated expense. All right, so that's my top three.
Well, actually, that answers my next question because I was going to ask you, what's the golden business nugget that you think would help the people watching this podcast? And those first three are it. Go where you are wanted. Make sure you have enough capital, and go cheap with real estate. Well, that's not just for the cannabis industry. That can be applied. That's a business nugget for just about everybody who's going to start a business.
Sure.
So you got it. So, by the way, Doug, you have, if you said 36 and you just gave us 3, where can we find the other 33 unique law points?
Give me a call.
Okay. Well,
give me a call. Send me an email. Doug@wassruss.com. WASSRUSS.com. Love to talk to anybody about cannabis business.
That's great. Sure. And so, Matt, I think you have a simple question.
So, Harrison, what advice would you give an entrepreneur who's looking to get into the cannabis space?
So the core piece of advice is to really follow their passion. What is it about the cannabis industry or plant that most gets them excited the most, and really follow that, because there are a myriad of ways you can plug into this industry, and no one is better than the other. And I think to Doug's point, if you want to be in the cannabis touching side of it, you need to be well capitalized, just legally, compliance wise, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of contingencies and things that you need to be prepared for if you plan to touch the plant. But there are so many other ancillary elements to the industry that are equally important to it, and I think there's opportunities there as well. So really follow what is it that's attracting you to the industry. Of course, it's obviously very profit centric and making money. But what is it about the industry? Is it the health and wellness aspect of it? Is it the medicinal benefits? And just follow that passion point to find where you can fit in and contribute best to the larger cannabis community and ecosystem.
Terrific.
Well, then, just Harrison, real quick, your golden nugget. I mean, follow what you said. I could say follow your passion, get what gets you excited the most, and. Is there one more thing you want to add on that one?
Yeah, I due diligence. There's also a lot of fraudsters and graft in this industry. Whenever there's fast money or fast profits around, there's also snakes in the grass in this industry. And I think a lot of people who have tried to get into the industry, even CBD, and I think this also is very valid in the CBD side of the cannabis business as well. It's just such a hot topic these days, and there are a lot of people out there who just are unfortunately, taking advantage of the uneducated. So educate yourself, learn as much as you can about every aspect of the business, regardless of where you plan to jump into the stream, because that's going to help guide you and prevent you from being taken advantage of and losing your shirt. I've come across a number of folks like that who have been burnt. And it's unfortunate to see. And I'm sure it happens in other industries, but it's definitely very prevalent in the cannabis industry, in all the markets that are online already and coming online. So just do your due diligence, educate yourself, and work with people that align with your vision and goals and your values.
And
It sounds like they should contact you and Doug.
And of course, contact Doug and I.
Well, that was my question. And how do they find the bluntness?
Thebluntness.com, TheBluntness, NESS, bluntness.com. And Wise Collective is Wise, WISE, collective.co, CO.
All right. Well, thank you. Doug, thank you so much. Harrison, thank you so much for joining us. And your thoughts and insights are really very, very powerful. And really, I think our listening audience are really going to appreciate it. So to our listening audience and our viewers, we hope that you enjoyed this podcast. And you can subscribe to Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt on our YouTube channel. You can find us on our Facebook page, Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt. You can find us on videosocials.net, and you can find us on our LinkedIn posts under Michael Gansel and Matt Plosiak. So I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
And together we are the Voices of Reason. This has been another Mind Your Own Business podcast with Mike and Matt.
We wish you a very happy holiday season despite these crazy times. Stay positive, test negative. Thank you for watching and hope to see you all soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks again.